order the engineering and equipment meeting for August 4th, 3 p.m. Any public notice?
No, there's been no public notice.
Very good. With that, we'll move right into the agenda. Item number 1, professional service agreement.
Thank you. I'll introduce this item. So first of all, I think you've already met Eric. He's our new asset management supervisor.
Ah, yes, Eric.
And I'm very excited to bring this item forward to the committee and hopefully to the board following. This is basically part of our asset management program. The program consists of several different factors, but one of the keystone factors is providing and finishing an asset management plan. We also refer to that as the AMP. And the asset management plan is basically going to be our cornerstone document, kind of like a master plan is for our development services group and our capital group. It'll basically be our roadmap to implementing how we implement the asset management program, and also will provide some valuable information that will also not only affect how we operate, maintain, and track our assets, but also how we look at our reserve funding and how much reserve we need in the future. So with that, let me introduce Eric to take it over. I think you have a brief presentation.
Thank you, Assistant General Manager. Let me share my screen here. Okay. Good afternoon, directors. This agenda item will provide a brief reminder of the asset management as a whole and then transition into the development of an asset management plan or an AMP for the district. Next slide. There we go. All right. All right, we will begin with reviewing the principles of asset management and then move on to what the asset management plan is and its goal. Then we review how the program and the AMP align with the district's strategic plan. Next, we will review the AMP development process. Then we cover the project's budget, its status, and projected spend. Then we will lastly, we will review where we are in the process and the next steps. The goal of asset management is to create facilities and infrastructure that are reliable, proactively maintained, and appropriately funded while anticipating future demands. Each of these questions is critical to using or utilizing the asset management to assess, plan, and act on what and where projects need to be prioritized. The district is already working to answer many of these questions through various projects, such as the ductile iron pipe and land outfall west condition assessments. We have been tracking water system leaks and integrating our GIS and CMMS platforms. The Asset Management Plan, or AMP, it's a tactical document that collects asset inventories, conditions, determines remaining useful life. It also creates a renewal and replacement schedule that is used to plan financing needs. The goal of the AMP is to be a living document which is continually updated and analyzed to help guide the district's asset management program. Asset management is defined in the Vallecitos Water District's strategic plan. Strategy 1.1, asset management, is generally gathering and analyzing data from all aspects of the business, or district, to build a clear picture of what, where, and when we need to act. Strategy 1.2, the replacement schedule, is developing a replacement schedule. Is basically one of the outputs of the program. It can be tailored to multiple types of assets, such as pumps, pipes, vehicles, to help us plan for future needs. All right. Now that we've reviewed the asset management and what asset management is and what the AMP is designed to accomplish, we will look at the development process of the asset management plan. This slide depicts the development process that is proposed by our selected consultant. The consultant will guide the district staff through each of these tasks. The tasks are designed to compile data and build toward the next, eventually helping the district make well-informed, data-driven decisions. Here we see the project's budget. This is listed as a multi-year project with a total approved budget of $704,000 and $245,000 in the current fiscal year. With the AMP consultant fee and projected expenditures, we are expecting the total fiscal year 22-23 amount to roughly be $400,000. This will exceed the fiscal year 22 and 23 budget. Because of this, we will need $150,000 from fiscal year 23-24 moved to the current fiscal year. We're not asking for a budget increase, but a reallocation to cover the current expenses for the project this year. The district's asset management program has been active over the past couple of years. This was through the various condition assessment projects, aligning our GIS and CMMS, and expanding data collection. The most recent step was opening an asset management plan RFP, receiving proposals, interviewing consultants, and selecting one to move forward with. The firm is Black & Veatch. The district has a history with Black & Veatch, as they have recently completed a master plan for the district, which is thorough and well received. Black & Veatch were chosen for this project based on their experience, expertise, and history with the district. District staff is asking the Engineering and Equipment Committee to support staff recommendation to execute a professional services agreement with Black & Veatch in the amount of roughly $300,000 pending final negotiations for the asset management plan project, and allocate $150,000 from fiscal year 23 and 24 to the current fiscal year without an increase in the overall CIP budget. Questions?
Yes. The delta, the $150,000 delta, could we extend the length of putting the management plan together to resolve that by, instead of adding the delta, just putting on like in 24, 25?
So we're gonna be close. We went ahead and extended the AMP schedule is about 6 months to complete. We went ahead and pushed it out to about 10 months already. And it may go over, but majority of the work's gonna happen this fiscal year because we're only in August right now.
Mm-hmm.
So no matter what, even if we don't go 150 over, we'll end up going 100 over, or 90 over, or 80 over. At the end of the day, though, it's gonna hold the same budget amount. We're not asking for increased budget. The reason why that we need the money is originally when the scope was built out, it was a smaller scope. It was done by Susan, and we were going to have some different things done in-house, and we're going to extend that over time. When Susan decided to go to a different agency, I had her update the scope, and this is before we knew who we were going to get with Eric. So the scope is appropriate, and it actually working out well. But at the end of the day, there's spending $150,000 more this fiscal year doesn't have any adverse effect to the district's budget because of where this pot of money is coming from. It's not coming out of the rate revenue sources.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, just a quick, I'm just curious about the other consultants. Was Black & Veatch kind of head and shoulders of everybody else with experience, or was there comparable experience?
I'll start and please jump in, Eric. So did we have 4 that proposed or 5 that proposed?
5
5 proposed. We had 4 that were pretty close, 3 that kind of rose to the top. At the end of the day, after interviews, the 2 that really kind of was the cream of the crop as far as how they approached the project scope and how they executed it in their interview was Black and Veatch and West Yost, and they're pretty close to the same costs. However, the Black and Veatch team had more experience on paper. They had a more polished product than the West Yost product, and that's what really pushed them over the edge. And the cost difference between them was 20, 30 grand, I can't remember, but it wasn't significant.
Okay, so the fee proposals were pretty good.
Yeah, well, we had one fee, I believe, from Arcadis that was significantly higher, but in the interview, we realized that they kind of put a generic fee out there. They didn't custom tailor it to ours, so they made a bunch of assumptions. So if we were to go in to negotiate, their fee would have probably come down also.
Sure.
However, the fact that they didn't do that homework meant they didn't do as good in the interview.
How's the consultant environment overall lately? Do people have enough work going on, or
Currently, there's too much work going on.
that's kind of what
Yeah.
I suspected.
Yeah, currently it's too much work going on, and that's why a lot of them are doing their due diligence, having pre-meetings, and they're being very honest with us. We had a couple from the pre-meetings that say, we just don't, it's not big enough for us, we're not gonna go after it.
Well, yeah, in that kind of an environment, it costs several $1,000s to put in a proposal, so if they've got enough work going on,
Yep.
they generally don't wanna do it. Okay, thanks.
Well, very good. Any other questions?
No, I certainly, as far as being a committee member, I certainly support the.
Oh, yeah, I do too. Do we need a motion on this?
No, yeah, I just need, yeah, I mean, yes, but it's just for, the motions for committee support to go to the board.
Okay,
I'm so moved.
second? Do we need to do the button thing and all
No.
that?
You don't have to, non-committee. Thank you.
Okay,
I have consensus.
all right. Item number 2, development project status biannual report.
So as we do a changeover here, I'll go ahead and introduce this item. So as you recall,
Thanks, Eric.
yeah, Eric, thank you so much.
Eric, thank you.
So, great job. So as you recall, we come quarterly, and that's per our policy to give a capital update. But we come twice a year to give a development services update. And as you all remember, this is Elizabeth. She's in charge of our development services group. And you'll see her more than twice a year, but you'll see her twice a year at this committee to give this exact update. Just as a reminder, the general updates to look at the different projects that are going on as far as from a development standpoint, the size of them, the anticipated revenue source, and kind of the workload that we're seeing. And of course, here to answer any questions too. So with that, Elizabeth, when you're ready. So you'll have to share the screen.
Yeah, can both of my files open?
So one of the things I do want to state, now that we're meeting in person, if the committee prefers, we could bring out and provide a copy of this map, which may be easier in the future. So let us know after today.
Yeah. Hang on, I'm gonna share my other screen. Move it over in front of me. I can see it better. All right, good afternoon, Engineering and Equipment Committee members. As James mentioned, I'm Elizabeth. I supervise our Development Services Group, and this is our biannual update of development projects that we're working on. It's an exhibit that might look familiar to you. We've shared it, I know I've shared it a couple of times already. As a refresher, the projects shown on this exhibit that are in green are projects that are currently in construction. The items shown on the map and in the table in pink are projects currently in plan check that our team is working on. And the projects in that kind of bluish purple color are projects in entitlement. So I'm going to zoom in, maybe. It's a little slow. And focus on first our projects in construction and the estimated EDUs and CAT fees that are remaining to be collected. So this list of projects in construction, we have approximately 30 projects in construction. So as you drive around town, I'm sure you're probably seeing a lot of development going on. These are our larger projects like development, residential subdivisions, and commercial projects, not our smaller single-family projects that we're working on. We're just mostly focused on the larger projects. The table here for the projects in construction shows the EDUs and the remaining capital facility fees that have not been paid for projects in construction yet. So in construction, we have 286 water EDUs for approximately $2.4 million and 294 sewer EDUs for approximately $4.1 million. We anticipate these capital facility fees should be paid to the district probably within the next couple of years. Some of those fees probably being paid very soon. Also, year-to-date for calendar 2022, we've collected $3 million in cap fees for water this calendar year already. That's 318 EDUs. And for sewer for this calendar year-to-date, we've collected $1.8 million in cap fees for 127 EDUs. So those numbers are not shown here on the table because we've already collected them. And this table is showing remaining fees that we anticipate collecting.
Would the committee members would like to zoom up on this table to see the projects, or are you okay?
I'm good.
I can't see anything.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
There you go, now we're talking.
It's not you, it's me. I was curious to know what project is on Mission across from the high school and Hollandia Dairy.
Yeah, we're working on that project. I'm actually getting ready to sign the plans here shortly. And so it's a Hollandia Dairy project, and they are just putting in some new water service connections for irrigation, and they're pretty much going to be using that property as storage.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So no buildings getting constructed. There is some landscaping that's going in
It's a
along
pretty
the
big-
Mission
pretty
Road.
big area they cleared out there.
Yep.
Is storage for their own equipment or? Oh,
Yes.
mhm.
Do you have any other general questions on projects in construction before we move on?
How about the Discovery Village? I know there's several developments within that.
We do. So Discovery Village is, I'll go to it on the map so we can see where it is, are these projects here in green. Discovery Village South, the projects in green is what's currently in construction. It's multifamily and residential homes, and I think we just processed the 7th phase of meter apps for that. So there's closings happening and people starting to live in the community. A lot of construction going on there.
Just a huge earthwork project.
Yeah, and just to get the bearings, you can see Craven Road, and then the creek is to the north, below the 78, and Elizabeth's on Craven Road right there. And that road that kind of goes to the west is Discovery. So that's Discovery Street, which it won't be straight, but which will go through the neighborhood. And then where does it connect to Echo Lane, right?
Discovery here it will connect to, I think, actually Barham,
Barham,
right
okay.
through
Yeah,
here.
it's where they're cutting down that big
Yep.
rock cliff there.
Yes.
So, and then there will be a regional park there and a bunch of other stuff, so.
Yep. And then the next phase of Discovery, this number 60 right here, they're still working on their entitlements, which we're wrapping up, and then I anticipate this project moving to plan check probably in the next 6 months or so. So more residential construction coming soon in
Is
this
it
area.
single family or is it?
Multifamily and single family.
However, right next door, not to get ahead of ourselves, where you see those dotted lines go,
Yeah.
I think that one, or maybe the one after, one of them is the 14-story building, and there's a proposed 16-story building. So you're talking about 1,500, units to maybe upwards of 2,000. We don't have the final numbers,
Right.
so.
Yes.
Yeah, that Urban Village is block 3 in green. I think that's where that big stockpile of dirt
Yep.
is right
It
now.
is.
They're
It is.
removing that right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, lot going on.
And we'll come back to this after this update. I actually have more I wanted to share with you on other construction in this area,
Oh,
which
good.
is pretty exciting.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions on what you're seeing in construction as we drive around town?
No?
Okay.
Let's go to the future.
Not too far future, though.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me scroll up. Plan check. Projects shown on the map in pink. These are projects in final engineering where we're working on water and sewer improvements and sewer connections and water meters. These projects, we have 156 water EDUs we're plan checking for a total of about $1.3 million and 145 sewer EDUs for a total of about $2 million. We anticipate collecting these CAP fees probably within the next 2 to 3 year range, just depending on how long it takes to get plans approved and how long it takes for those projects to get to far enough along in construction that they start paying their CAP fees.
Is the Sears mixed use, is that the one on San Marcos Boulevard, the old
Yes.
Sears?
Yep. That just recently came in the last couple weeks, so that's a new project for us that we're working on.
The High Point project, where is that in the plan check?
High Point. So we have High Point Phase 1 in construction right now. So are you familiar with where High Point is?
Oh, yeah.
It's down.
Yeah, I'm too far
I can
north.
see it from my house.
Yeah, there's a delay. Just
Yeah, it's slow. So High Point, yes, it's right here along
Uh-huh,
Interstate 15 near Deer Springs Road. So Phase 1's currently in construction. The developer is replacing the existing ductile iron water pipe
Right.
with the new PVC for us. So that's in construction. They've done their potholing, moving forward with pipeline replacement. Similarly, they are also in construction on this Wolf water line improvement, which is connecting the water distribution in the High Point zone to the Wolf zone so that we can move water back and forth between the zones. So that is also in construction.
The zones are at the same elevation.
no, they're slightly off. So there's going to be a pressure reducing station that's being put in that the district is doing. However, just as a reminder, this is also the area we did the PICA study where
Right,
we
right.
did the pipeline assessment, and we showed that the 12-inch line was not in good shape, that it needed to be replaced entirely. Well, when the developer's contractor did their potholing, every single utility crossing, or what I've been told is every single utility crossing, basically was roped around the pipe, damaged the coating of the pipe. So it's a good thing that we're making them replace it because every single pipe was damaged.
Kind of confirms what we suspected.
It confirms what we suspected, yes.
Yeah.
The reason I ask is the developer called me and said, hey, why am I waiting for such long plan check processes? And if they're under construction, what is he talking about?
So kind of to James' point, they have their contractor, they're in construction, they potholed all their dry utility crossings and discovered that most dry utility crossings are sitting on top of our water main, and our water main is on top of other dry utilities. So they sent us the pothole information, and we're having to process revisions for every crossing. So it takes a bit of time just to look at that and get through that information.
Any anticipation of how long that's going to take?
Well, they just submitted the revision 2 days ago on actually maybe yesterday morning, so haven't had a chance to look at that yet, but we anticipate reviewing and getting that back to them next week.
Okay.
So I think that's a more than reasonable turnaround time, but they're antsy because they have a contractor sitting there waiting, and I get that. And I get that, but we have to do this right since the existing infrastructure is compromised.
Okay.
Also, on High Point, we have Phase 2 in construction that we're also plan checking, and in addition to that, we have the pump station. So this development served by a hydropneumatic pump station. The second submittal of the pump station came in about a week and a half ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, so we're also working on that. So there's really kind of 4 phases of plan review or items in construction between Wolf, phase 1, phase 2, and the pump station.
And just so that the committee members are aware, if you ever do get contacted by them, they're doing their best. They're working in earnest, and staff is trying to help them out. But and as an example, even if they get everything done in time, I think they may be close to 9 months out on just getting equipment for the pump station because they haven't ordered it yet. And staff told them before Elizabeth started, which how many months have you been here, Elizabeth?
This is my 11th month.
11th month. So we told them a year ago that you need to start getting the pump station as your priority because of the long lead items for pumps, motors, and equipment. So in other words, if they got everything they needed, they would get everything done, installed, and then still not be able to put lumber on because there's no water to the site without that pump station.
That serves phase 1.
It says phase 1 and phase 2.
Oh, both of them.
Yeah.
My.
So they prioritize the pipelines. The developer decided to prioritize the pipelines, not the pump station. Staff recommended prioritizing the pump station.
Can they mitigate that, no water, so they can start building?
No, they've already tried doing that with the city Escondido fire, and it was shot down. I happened to be at that meeting. So we were looking at creative ideas to try and get them to be able to drop lumber. Escondido said, nope, no, you're not dropping lumber off Highlines. You're not dropping lumber off anything else. So
There's no fire protection.
yeah, so you can't drop lumber unless you have fire protection.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you could put out water trucks or something.
It's not our call. So,
Yeah, I know, that's-
yeah.
Fire protection.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Also a high fire severity zone, so there's probably concern there on behalf of the fire department. Any other projects about, or questions about our plan check
Maybe
projects?
The other big one is Cherokee mixed use.
Yes, so for Cherokee, let's see if I can actually find that on the map. You're gonna really test me.
What number is that?
36.
I've just kind of taken the two biggest projects.
Here it is. So this is a residential multifamily project, once this loads. I think it's about 36 units. We're working with a developer on this one. We recently discovered there is, for this adjacent parcel right here, there's an existing sewer lateral that crosses the property that connects to Sewer and Creek Street, and we discovered that recently on the plan check. So we've been working with the customer, figuring out how we're going to accommodate that existing sewer lateral because it needs to be either relocated or reconfigured through their proposed project.
So at one point, it was the same owner that owned both lots. And this is one of the reasons why our policy doesn't allow this anymore. Is, we'll never sell, we'll never split. There's no reason to, let me build one sewer lateral across the other lot. Well, they sold it, never sold the rights to it, never provided an easement, never did anything.
Yeah.
So now, I think it's O'Reilly Auto Parts, their sewer lateral technically doesn't have any rights.
Yeah, there's no easement reserved, so we're working through that right now.
That's off, is that Rancho Santa Fe Road?
Yeah, that's
Yes.
right, so right behind that is the CWA PIF for the desal and our desal
Yeah.
connection.
Okay.
Okay,
All right, thanks.
you're welcome. It's a tricky document to navigate.
Yeah, that's why I think maybe a printout will be better next time.
Yes, agreed. I'm just used to doing this virtually.
Yep.
So this is our list of planning projects that we're working on. There's some projects shown here that are starting to have long periods of inactivity. So I think on the next biannual update, we'll start removing some of these projects, such as Newland Sierra, because we have not been actively working on that. And I don't believe the developer's pursuing it at this time. So next update, probably try to start shortening this list a bit to anything that's been inactive for the past 6 months to a year. But we have in planning, 4,600 EDUs, and about $39 million in water cap fees, and 4,526 sewer EDUs at about $63 million. Now, cap fees for projects in planning, these projects may not move forward to construction. So these fees they're really just a ballpark figure and estimate at this time, and we may not actually get any of these fees paid to the district.
Yeah. So just taking Newell and Sierra out cuts those fees in probably a little bit more than half. So just to give you an idea, a lot of these projects are moving forward in one form or another, but it's since they're only in the entitlement phase, it will really depend on the economy and each individual site and developer of that site.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, what's, Restaurant Row, what's going on there?
They got 10,000 square feet of commercial space that's going to be frontage of San Marcos Boulevard, and 200 multifamily units is what I was told by Lennar. That may not represent what's here where it says Restaurant Row. I saw it somewhere on here.
Yeah, it's at 47, it says phase 2.
Yeah, 71. Number 71, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there's, 47 says Old California Restaurant Row phase 2.
Yeah, that's probably an older project, and
Okay.
it's going to be taken over. So again, we'll have to clean because we have some multi-family, at one point I think they're going to do more commercial space, but the latest that I saw from Lennar is going to be the builder is something like 200 units, but majority of them I think are either row homes or townhomes.
So their plan is to level the existing facility?
Yeah.
10,000 square foot of commercial that fronts the San Marcos Boulevard, and then the new units will go on both sides of that easement that runs across the back between Via Veracruz and Las Posas.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll be on both sides of that, and that'll be probably improved to more like a road, or at least something similar to a road,
Yeah.
since that is a city utility corridor anyway.
Speaking of which, I go to the movies all the time, so is that a spring at the back of the Sears station?
No, it's a leaky pipe.
It is. Well, it's been leaking for months.
They actually have somebody working on now. Somebody notified them. So,
Well, I've notified the district here 2 months ago.
yeah.
So I don't know what we gotta do to get that thing cleaned up, but
My understanding is they've been notified a couple times, but
So it's on the customer side?
I stopped because the potholes gotten so bad, and I heard a little noise, which sounded like a water leak, and I looked over the fence, and there's an open box that you can see white PVC pipe that's flooded, and water's coming out of that thing.
yeah.
So it's definitely not a spring. So.
Okay, any more questions on planning projects?
No?
So just to show you on this exhibit, kind of going back down to Discovery, and I have some photos and some slides to show you, but all of the improvements you've probably seen, a lot of the city of San Marcos has the Creek District project in construction, and that you would see in this part of town along Discovery, kind of near Discovery Village South. So I'm gonna stop sharing my screen and switch over to some information to talk about for that. Okay, so the development services team, in addition to working on private development projects, we also work on city CIP projects where there are district facilities that need to be relocated, protected, or just, facilities adjusted to grade. So with the city of San Marcos, the district has a cost-sharing agreement, and with that agreement, the city's contractor will relocate district facilities or adjust them to grade or protect them in place, and we reimburse the city for that work that the contractor does. So for the Creek District project, this is just kind of an overall exhibit showing the limits of the overall city project, which is south of San Marcos Boulevard, north of Discovery Street, with up to about Bent Avenue to the east, and then where Discovery Street meets San Marcos Boulevard to the west. So there's a lot of street improvements that the city's doing with this project on Discovery Street, via Veracruz, Bent Avenue, and Craven Road. And the district has a lot of facilities that are being relocated with this project. The city's contract with their contractor is a $64 million contract, and almost $4 million of that is relocation of district facilities that we will be reimbursing the city for their contractor doing that work.
Yeah, so just an observation, Bent Ave needs some major improvement. I mean, that's gonna be a major intersection.
Yes. So with this
I mean,
project,
it already is, there's a lot of people traveling on that now
Oh, yeah.
that the bridge is open.
yes, yep. So you're familiar. They're building a bridge over. They opened the bridge for Bent Avenue, and they're currently working on building the bridge for Via Veracruz. You've probably seen Via Veracruz is shut down right now. The road's completely removed, and they're moving forward with their bridge work.
And I believe Via Veracruz will be a 4-lane bridge,
Yes.
while Bent will remain a 2-lane bridge.
So what's the schedule on Via Veracruz Bridge?
So I'm told that the project as a whole, the city's project, is supposed to be completed in March of 2023.
I don't know if I believe it.
No, I
I
do
don't
not.
think I do.
I don't either. I reached out to them this week. That's what their current schedule shows. So I'm going with it because it's their project. I can only speculate. So this is Bent Avenue. Once you cross, it's looking south from Creekside Drive. Once you cross Discovery, Bent Avenue turns into Craven Road. This is a photo taken prior to construction, beginning in early 2020. At that time, the district had 12-inch PVC sewer that has been abandoned by the contractor and relocated. And then we removed existing 12-inch ACP water from this street. And that's kind of just existing conditions and what our existing utilities were. Here's a project of Bent Avenue in construction. On the left side of the photos, Discovery Street. And on the right side of the photo, that building is the same building we can see from this previous photo here on Creekside Drive, just to give you a perspective. So the city's contractor installed new 18-inch PVC sewer in a 30-inch welded steel casing. That sewer is on the west side of Bent Avenue Bridge. It's below the creek in the ground, so on like the north side of this photo, just along the bridge. They did some water realignment for us in Craven Road. There was some new 12-inch PVC realignment with the street work improvements to accommodate that. And then there was some new 8-inch PVC water north of the Bent Avenue Bridge near Creekside Drive. We do not have any water going through Bent Avenue Bridge. And as I mentioned on the previous slide, we did have water, 12-inch ACP that we removed, but we will no longer have water going through Bent Avenue. Here's a more current photo. You can see the bridge is open. The bridge opened in June of 2022, and all of our water and sewer improvements in Bent Avenue are complete. This is a pre-construction photo of the Discovery Street and Via Veracruz intersection. In this photo, we're looking east. Discovery Road is on the right, and Via Veracruz is at the bottom of the photo. In Discovery Street, the contractor abandoned existing 12-inch PVC water all the way from Via Veracruz to Bent Avenue. And then our existing 8-inch sewer in Discovery Street will remain in place, and the contractor is working around that. In Via Veracruz, the street at the bottom of the photo, the contractor is abandoning 8-inch VCP sewer. They'll be installing new sewer for us and removing 6-inch ACP water near San Marcos Boulevard and 14-inch ACP water through most of Via Veracruz between San Marcos Boulevard and Discovery.
You know, when I drive through that intersection, I'm trying to imagine that house on the corner, it's gonna be in like a 10 or 12-foot hole.
It will be,
Once
yes.
all, you know, everything's,
Yeah, I think once the homeowners realize that situation, they're gonna have some issues with the city.
yeah, I think there's some of those residences, they've complained quite a bit because their view is gonna be the embankment of the new road there.
They're gonna be in a hole.
Yeah.
So here's a project during construction. This photo was taken a few months ago. In this photo, you can start to see that this is the same intersection, Discovery and Via Veracruz, and you can start to see that the intersection is being raised about 10 feet to accommodate the bridge, and they're building the abutments right now. So in the middle of this photo, you can see our sewer manhole. The contractor has completed installing new 10-inch PVC sewer in Via Veracruz, and it's in an 18-inch welded steel casing. It's not going through the bridge. It's also in the dirt below the creek adjacent to the bridge. And so you can see our manhole here, and that the rest of the intersection or near this bridge has not been raised to final grade yet. They're still working on that. The contractors in the process of installing 12-inch PVC sewer in Discovery right now for us. That's not completed yet. Here's a photo from Discovery Street at Via Veracruz, is trying to capture the perspective of how much the elevation of Discovery Street's being raised with this project. So where cars are driving in the proximity of this photo is the existing grade of Discovery Street. To the left, where there's kind of that black wall, and you can see some cones, that's the new elevation of Discovery Street. So the north side of it is already at final grade, and then they'll work on the next phase on the south side of Discovery. So it's really bringing up the elevation and changing the grades a lot, and it's we had to move our water to accommodate these improvements. Here's a current photo from this week. We're back to Via Veracruz and Discovery Street. You can see that they are starting to put in the piles for their bridge. Our sewer manhole that same manhole is in the middle. Once the bridge is constructed, the city's contractor will install new 16-inch CMLNC steel water through the bridge for us. So that will be coming in the next few months. And then this was kind of
That'll be inside the bridge.
in the bridge through the bridge soffit.
So we'll have access.
Yeah, we'll have access fed, and then we'll have the EVA flexors on both sides, so as the bridge moves, it doesn't break the pipe.
This is just an aerial image of Via Veracruz, just showing, they're building up, putting in the abutments, and our anticipated reimbursement cost to the city for this is right now about $3.7 million. We haven't made any reimbursements to the city yet, but I anticipate them submitting a reimbursement invoice here for Bent Avenue shortly. So just wanted to kind of share this with you. And, in addition to development services working on development projects, we've also had a really big role in this project, and it's also keeping us busy.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the way it works out is with the mutual agreement between the city and us, we don't charge each other for each other's time. So while we're working on developer jobs, developers pay for our staff time, our overhead, and everything else. But on the city jobs, it's the district's paying for that. So.
Okay,
Okay, any questions?
questions?
Nope, I'm good, thank you.
No?
Great,
I think that's the end of it.
okay,
That's the end of it.
thank
Very
you.
good.
That's the end of it.
Any other business we want to conduct?
No, we'll go back to the normal quarterly meetings unless there's other pressing items. We brought this one in because we wanted the committee to see the asset management plan.
Right.
So we'll go through and I'll make sure Anthony sends out the normal notices, and we'll keep them quarterly unless there's another pressing item.
All right. With that, we are adjourned.